before we get started, the name of this conference or this session is about getting started. It sounds great, how do I get started? Those were my exact thoughts in 1994 when I first heard about TPRS. Oh man, this is great. How do I get started? Now a little preface. In 1994, I was already Susie Brooks. Just so you know, I've been president of the Colorado Congress of Foreign Language Teachers. I've been on the board of directors of the Southwest Pole. I have given workshops at state, national, regional conventions. I've given presentations, day-long workshops at the American Association of Teachers of French in Senegal and in San Diego. I have given them in French. I've given them in English. I've done this. I've gotten, certificates, and, all this stuff. And so I had this reputation. And I was so afraid to try to change because what if it doesn't work? And I'm not proud of this, but I'll admit it. I was afraid it wouldn't work because what about my reputation? I'm not proud of it, but honestly and truly, I was more worried about myself than the kids. Honest and true. So if some of you have thoughts like that flitting through your mind, hey, I've been there. We're only human. That's normal. By the same token, I have been teaching for 24 years. Oh, let's see, it's 1969, this is 1925. Well, anyway, so I've been teaching here. I've been teaching all along. And every year, at the end of the year, I gave the same exam. My students would have to do a conversation with me or put on a skit with me or something like that. Or I wanted them to speak spontaneously. Draw a card. Okay, here you are. You're going to be in the store buying something, and I'm going to be the merchant. Here's some francs. In those days, there were no euros. It was francs. And here are some francs, and have a little conversation. Or you're a guest in my home, and I'm a French mom, talking me into not making you go to school today, or that kind of stuff. Okay. So I did stuff like that, and I've been doing it for years and years and years and years and years. And I had 2 or 3 different ways of assessing speaking. And the scores were always kind of the same for all those years. There was really no difference. And it frustrated me. I went to workshop after workshop, conference after conference. I did everything I could, because the truth was, when my kids had to speak spontaneously, they couldn't do it. Now, I also had the kids do prepared French presentations, and I videotaped them. If you ever saw the videotapes of my kids, oh boy, are they good at French. But if they had to do it spontaneously, it was like, it was frustrating. So I went to all these conferences, and I learned all these new tricks, and I'd come home and try them, and at the end of the year, the kids performed exactly the same as they had the preceding 15 years. There was never any difference. And I remember one time when I went to a Barbara Snyder workshop, and she was talking about paired work and stuff like that, and she said that if we could get our kids to practice speaking 10 minutes a day, that's 180 days, times 10, that's over 1,000 minutes of practicing speaking. That would make a significant difference in their ability to speak French. I was at my wit's end. This was 1992. I said, for 91, I said, I'll do anything. I have dedicated my entire life to teaching, and I'm not getting the results I want. Okay. So I made up paired activities, group activities, speaking activities, rolling the dice. I invented over 300 games during the course of my teaching. All kinds of things to make the kids speak to each other. And I got my kids, I had 7th, 8th, and 9th grade in that year, and they all had to speak for 10 minutes a day every single day. I'd come up with a 2-minute activity, a 5-minute activity, and they were practicing speaking, and I'd go around and listen to them and try to keep track of how many utterances they had and all this stuff. At the end of the first year, I gave the oral exam, the 7th grade, the 8th grade, the 9th grade, the oral exam. The scores were exactly the same as they had been for the preceding 20, whenever did we come up with 5 years. Exactly. But I persisted. I stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning for the entire next year, every day, coming up with 10 minutes of speaking activities. I could use the ones I did last year, I could use those on my new studies. But my 8th and 9th graders needed new stuff, so I would come up with stuff every day and go in and lay. Everyone was speaking French for 10 minutes every single day, come H or high water, everybody did it. And at the end of that year, now they had 2 years, the oral speaking grades were exactly the same as they had been during the preceding 20-some years. So the 3rd year, I came up with all these parent speaking activities for the 9th grade because they used up all my ideas in 7th and 8th. And at the end of the year, all of my students' speaking grades were exactly the same as they had their okay. So if you are kind of wondering if practice speaking doesn't make speaking better, I was a competitive tennis player. Practicing my forehand made my forehand better. I invite you to reenact my experiment. Come up with output activities and make your kids speak for 10 minutes a day for 3 solid years. And it ain't easy coming up with that many activities, but you be my guest, or you could just believe me. And Stephen Fresh. That improved output is a result of input. Okay. Now, at that moment, year 3 of my speaking, I discovered TPRS. Gee, this sounds good. How do I get started? This was my thinking, combined with, and I sure don't want anybody to think worse of me, all that was in my head.